The Museum of Industry. It's known for its exhibits on steam engines, locomotives, and coal mining, among other things, classic Nova Scotia trades. But its newest exhibit explores a more recent industry here, one that's planted firmly in the virtual realm. Our gaming columnist, Erin MacInnis, took a trip to Stellarton to learn all about it.
That's music from Tunic, a video game about a little red fox that was developed right here in Nova Scotia. Our video game industry has really taken off in the last 2 decades. According to the Interactive Society of Nova Scotia, there are now more than 20 studios in the province, employing more than 300 people and counting. That's something the Museum of Industry in Stellarton wanted to capture for its visitors. They've created a brand new exhibit called Ready to Play.
Hi, Denise Taylor. I'm the marketing and events person here at the Museum of Industry.
I'm Andrew Phillips. I'm the curator of education and public programs here at the Museum of Industry.
So, Erin, this is our Ready to Play exhibit. It's on Nova Scotia's role in the global video game industry. No museum has ever done an exhibit on Nova Scotia's video game industry. There was no books that we could go and read. There's no museums to call. There is absolutely nothing in the Nova Scotia Museum collection that represents the video game industry in Nova Scotia. We've created a big map on the wall that shows where a number of the larger studios are located across the province, and certainly that is not all of them. It was a very learning experience for both of us, I think. The number one thing, and I'm sure Andrew would agree, is people say, we had no idea there was that many video game companies in Nova Scotia.
Denise Taylor is the Marketing Services Officer at the Museum of Industry. Over the course of their research, Andrew and Denise interviewed more than a dozen studios in Nova Scotia. On the map, they have big companies like Ubisoft in Halifax. Its parent company owns franchises like Just Dance and Assassin's Creed. And then there's small indie developers like Xona Games in Yarmouth.
Xona Games specializes in kind of retro-style arcade games, sort of called shmups or shoot-em-ups. If you imagine a little bit like Space Invaders taken to a more modern level. That, again, is Matt Doucette's company. And he and his brother created a game called Decimation X, which was an award-winning game in Japan. But that is one of those early successful companies that had its start right in Yarmouth.
And way at the other end of the province, Green Robot Studios in Sydney developed the world's first digital Mi'kmaq experience. The game is called Travel Back in Time to Gunduak-Tuk. Players can learn traditional skills like bow hunting, spearfishing, canoeing, and drumming, all in virtual reality.
Green Robot worked very closely with Member2 to develop sort of a gamified museum experience, I guess you could say, a game that would help people understand and appreciate pre-contact Mi'kmaq culture, and that's really what the game is oriented towards. When we talk with people about the advantages of having a studio in Nova Scotia, one of the things that quite a few people did say was that the culture here overall is very collaborative. And when I was talking to the folks from Vesuvius Media, they had relocated actually from Greece to Nova Scotia. And something they had commented on was it was so different here. You could sit down with the director or a CEO of a studio and have a conversation where you would never be able to do that in Greece. So that culture was really quite different for them, and something that they found, I think, a very strong positive to locating their studio here.
Andrew Phillips is the curator of education and public programming for the museum. So obviously there are perks to setting up shop here in Nova Scotia in this ever-expanding video game hub. But it wasn't always that way.
One of the things that stood out for me as I was talking with people who work in the industry today was they would remember back to their own childhood or their own younger days, being really interested in video games, but not really being sure how to start a career in that field. Some people we spoke to basically taught themselves game programming. Others worked in different fields of IT. And then over time, got into working for game studios, programming, developing video and computer games from there. Quite a few people we spoke to also say that they do outreach activities for high schools to try to make young people in Nova Scotia aware that this is a viable career that they can pursue in the province.
We went to visit Ubisoft and their offices in the old Maritime Centre in Halifax. They have 80 employees from 26 different countries, which, wow, that's pretty incredible for our immigration to Nova Scotia and increasing our population. But they also do that because there wasn't enough trained people to hire here. This is something that they're trying to develop trained individuals so they can work in this industry.
Now there's a whole host of university and college programs all around video game development. There's game programming at the NSCC Truro campus. Acadia University in Wolfville teaches game development as part of its Bachelor of Applied Computer Science program. And there's even a few co-op programs for high school students. You can find a whole list at interactivenovascotia.com. As for the Ready to Play exhibit, Denise said all of the information they gathered will live on in the archives for future reference.
Andrew had done, I think it was 12 different interviews. We have quotes from the studios. We have a better understanding about how vast this industry really is in Nova Scotia. We borrowed, as you've seen some of the cases, we borrowed some items. And then a lot of the studios, anything that they had for merchandise, they were more than eager to loan it to us.
And as we turned the corner on the exhibit, we came out onto a whole floor of arcade machines. The Museum of Industry is also currently hosting another exhibit called Game Changers from the Canada Science and Technology Museum. And yes, you are free to run around and play games to your heart's content. No tokens required. Denise told me these exhibits have brought a whole new generation of kids to the museum. And as it turns out, Andrew's pretty good at Pac-Man.
This is the first, I think. Yeah.
You can visit both of these exhibits at the Museum of Industry until June 23rd. For CBC Radio, I'm Erin MacInnis.
And there she goes. That's a familiar sound too. Thanks, Erin. Great story. Sound like a lot of fun there. And if you want to find out more about the gaming community and activities, you can head to interactivenovascotia.com.